Hello everyone, and welcome to another card video. Today I'm playing with Your Next Stamp's new Fleece Navidad stamp set with coordinating dies. I also have this Mint Cocoa Kisses, and this plaid right here is fabulous. It is filled with super fun, kind of soft plaids and patterns. It's really nice. So I've got a piece of Ranger Distress watercolor paper and a Nouveau stencil brush, and I'm blending on Distress Oxide inks in Bundled Sage old paper. So I started with old paper and then I started blending on Bundled Sage, and I love it. It looks so cool. It's a very soft look. So if you're going for something a little bit more intense, don't reach for the Nouveau stencil brush. But if you would like a softer background like this, that brush is your jam. So I'm just showing you here how I roll up my craft mat, and then I use this purple tape to kind of keep it together, and then I get to reuse that purple tape because you can wipe it off. I find that super handy, so I figured I would share. So I've got my little diaper box here and a piece, my background, and I'm going to make it shine, of course. I've got an addiction to the shine now. So I'm spraying on both frost and sparkle. And here you can see one of them has like a whiter mix and then one is more silvery. The sparkle one definitely more intense, and the frost does leave like a tint to the paper. But here's what it looks like. I love it. It is gorgeous, even with both of them and being gluttonous. I have the Skating Rink Scene die set here and a piece of that plaid paper from the Mint Cocoa paper pack by Your Next Stamp. And I'm trying to decide what color to cut out my fence, because I want a fence in my scene that I'm building. So I've got my little plaid piece that I want to use, and I'm kind of going through my stash to see. But look what I've got. I've got the Spellbinders Platinum. This is the big boy die cutting machine. These platforms are huge. They're huge. I couldn't decide what color I wanted to cut my fence, so I just cut them all. I've got a couple of like wood. This is Fawn wood grain cardstock, so I have the darker one and the medium grade. And then I also cut it from, I think, forget it. It was like a corally shade. So, but I didn't end up using it. So spoiler alert. This is Your Next Stamp Black Olive ink. It is Copic friendly, so I am using it to stamp this awesome sheep from the Fleece Navidad stamp set by Your Next Stamp. And I do stamp it a couple times to get really crisp lines. And then I wasn't sure how I wanted to cut it or color it, not cut it, but color it. Here's what I ended up doing. This is the Copic color map that is available on the coordinating blog post that is linked below in the description box. Okay, so I started coloring with my colored pencils, and it just wasn't popping. It just wasn't popping like I wanted it to. So I broke out the Copics, and then I started doing some shading with the polychromos. So if you thought that I wasn't high maintenance enough, here's the kicker. Okay, I colored this image with my Copic markers, and then I shaded them with my Faber-Castell polychromos. High maintenance, okay? So I didn't use a lot of colored pencil. I just used the gray and like the dark red or the dark green, just to kind of add a little bit of depth to. I really love how it turned out. So if you want to be high maintenance with me, come on over. It's really fun over here, but it's expensive and ridiculous. So you got to be prepared for that. So after coloring this guy a couple times, what I would recommend is maybe use your alcohol markers to color initially, and then add a little bit of depth with your colored pencils and see if that's fun for you. So I'm cutting out the dies with my Your Next Stamp die snips, and I'm just cutting out the one sheep. That's the only image from the set that I'm using, but he's holding a little coffee cup with a smiley face on it, so I didn't think any other images were needed. So I'm using the platinum die cutting machine to cut out my sweet little sheep. And he's going to go on the card front with one of these fabulous fences. And so I needed to ask Tim what his opinion was on the fence, because I loved them all, but I couldn't use them all. That would be just ridiculous. So we ended up with the medium brown, and I think he did a great job picking it out. I think it looks fabulous. Now I'm picking some...
Tim, could you turn on the Apple TV? I was thinking maybe... Oh.
Did you turn on the Apple TV? I was thinking nothing.
Well, shiver me timbers, I've gone full pirate.
I drew that with my finger, okay? That was my finger painting for today. I've got some card bases, and again, unsure of which one to go. I hovered a long time over the craft card base, but ultimately I chose Stampin' Up's speckled cardstock. It's like a natural kind of cardstock, and you can see fibers in the background. I thought that was great with the sheep. So I'm also picking what I wanted to stamp the sentiment in, and I was hemming and hawing over either ground espresso or abandoned coral. I ultimately went with abandoned coral, and I'm so glad that I did. It really made the card bright. That background really looks good with it, and I love how it turned out. I did end up stamping it twice. I usually stamp things twice, so I'm not sure if there's a reason for that, just that I want a nice, thick, crisp impression. So I took a smaller piece of that Ranger Distress Watercolor cardstock, and this is just a smaller stencil brush. This one is Ranger's stencil brush, and I'm taking abandoned coral and I'm just kind of giving it an ombre effect from one side of the little square to the other. And then I'm taking this sun from the Rainbow Fun die set by Your Next Stamp, and here I am just touching up the ink a little bit, making it a little darker, a little bit more intense. And then I've got the Bow Bunny glimmer paste in sugar and a little piece of tape, and I'm taping it down to my craft mat so it doesn't move. And I'm going to cover this guy with glimmer paste. Okay, this is a clear glimmer paste, so it just turns whatever color cardstock you're using into a shiny one. So now I'm putting the card together. I'm using the craft foam, white craft foam, and scrapbook.com's double-sided adhesive to adhere my front panel. I've framed it with that plaid piece. I think that looks fabulous. And now we're going to arrange the images that I've created with different types of foam tape. I think I used the Dollar Tree foam tape on that sun. I smudged it a little bit. And then I've got a double Scotch foam tape on this fence, and then double on the sheep. But it looks great. And so now we're going to add just a little bit more shine, because, you know, 2 layers of shine is not enough. We need more. We're going to take some Neat and Tangled clear. These are the clear sequins, so if you guys have clear sequins, they'll work just the same. But I love using these because whatever your background is, it kind of works with it because it's clear. So I'm using this pop-up container by Doris. I wish I could find this online somewhere, but I can't. I love adhering the sequins with glue dots. It makes it so easy. So I take a sequin and I just pick the glue dot up with the sequin and then put the sequin down on my project. Super easy, no fuss, boom, you're done. And this card is really cute. I like it. I don't always like my cards so much. Like sometimes they're just kind of okay, but this one really turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed it too, and I'll see you guys next time.